So we're going to talk about Justin Amash. Now, if you're not sure who he is the Republican congressman from the 3rd District of Michigan, and he has kind of come under fire lately. Now, again, quick background on who he is if you've never heard of him. He is a much more libertarian Republican. He's basically a lot like Rand Paul, except when Rand Paul has kind of worked with Trump in the past, Justin Amash has kind of gone the opposite direction of attacking Trump wherever he can. And again, it's worth remembering that someone's opinion on Trump is not everything. They can have other opinions on things as well. That is not the defining position. It's an important one, sure, but it's not the defining position on whether someone is good or bad or anything. So recently he has come under fire just for basically what he's been tweeting out. If you want to see a lot of stuff, like I never even realized how much he has tweeted about this until I just glanced through about 20 minutes ago. And basically, to summarize everything he's saying, he read the Mueller report cover to cover, and as a good congressman should, he actually read the report, and he says, okay, I think Trump should be impeached. That is what he said. He said, yeah, like, if you look at all the obstruction in, I think it's Volume 2 of the report, Volume 1 was the investigation, Volume 2 was obstruction to the investigation. He is focusing on the second part. He says Mueller's report basically says there's a lot to be worried about here, and we should impeach Trump. No, I think he's wrong. I think he's really wrong. I think he is tremendously wrong on this issue. Like, I think this might even be a bit into the Trump derangement syndrome thing, where, I mean, he's read the report and it seems that he has come to a completely different conclusion than me. I haven't read the full report. I'll admit that. I read Volume 1. That's it. I read Volume 1, which was the investigation itself. And I don't even think you have to read the second volume after you read the first volume. I mean, does it help to? I'll admit, it's always good to read stuff. But if you read the first volume, basically it says there's a little bit of a sketchy stuff here, but basically there's no evidence of collusion. Basically, we cannot say he did anything wrong. We cannot recommend charges. All we can say is we don't have any evidence to say that there was collusion, and that's generally how, like, our system works. That's the good thing about our system of innocent until proven guilty. Basically, if you cannot prove that someone did something wrong, we assume they're innocent. That's how that works. It's down to if someone screws up and you think someone did something wrong, you shouldn't be the one saying, like, hey, I think he did this. Even though I have no evidence, I think he did this. You can hypothesize, sure, you can put out a theory and say, this might be true, but if we don't have evidence, we have to say the null position is nothing happened. That's generally how it works. And I think the Volume 1 shows that, hey, we did this massive, expensive investigation that was clearly, politically biased from the very beginning, and we didn't find anything to really recommend collusion. And it's like, okay, do we find some sketchy stuff? Sure. Do we find some Russians doing some pretty weird things? Yeah. But the whole thing was to see, did Trump collude with the Russians to get elected? And the answer is, after 2 years and a ton of investigations, pretty much no. Pretty much there's no evidence of that we have not found anything that could recommend impeachment, that could say, hey, this is pretty sketchy, like, he might have actually done something. And the whole time Mueller says, well, I can't say he didn't do anything. Well, true, I admit that. Like, nobody actually says that. In a court of law, when we say someone's not guilty, we're not saying this guy definitely did not do it. What we're saying is we don't have enough evidence to say he did, so we have to say he didn't until, like, all we can say is we don't have enough evidence to say he did, so we have to assume that he didn't. But we're not saying that it is 100% certain that nobody did anything wrong. No, that's not how the justice system works. That's not how any of this works. It's all down to, again, if you can't prove that someone did something, you just kind of have to say, okay, well, we have to assume they did not unless otherwise proven. The null hypothesis is someone did not do something unless otherwise proven, and there was nothing proven. So what Amash essentially does is go into the, hey, like, this guy did some pretty sketchy stuff, into into obstructing this report, into obstructing this investigation. And honestly, I disagree with that. Right? It comes down to where even if Trump did try to fight and try to make things difficult when it came to the investigation, I can't blame him at all, because again, as we found, no collusion. This thing seems to have come out. Yeah, he didn't do anything wrong that we can prove, or we can't prove that he did anything wrong. I have to watch my wording, but you get what I mean by this point. If you don't get what I mean, just rewatch this part. I don't know. Find someone else who can explain it better. But yeah, so Justin Amash has been completely wrong on this, on recommending impeachment, because, and pretty much all the responses to Justin Amash have been, yeah, but this was an illegit, like, who cares about obstruction? Like, who cares? That does not matter. All that matters is, did he do anything wrong here? Like, did the investigation uncover anything? And it's not like he obstructed anything to the extent that that the investigation was not legitimate. Like Mueller says, yeah, this thing's legitimate. So pretty much I can't blame him. It's kind of like when I hear about what has happened in terms of obstructing the investigation, it's like, yeah, did this guy collaborate 100% completely? It's like, no, he only collaborated 85% of the way, but he pushed back a little bit because we were wasting his time. And it's like, yeah, I can't blame him for that. This whole thing has turned out to be complete nonsense. So, where I disagree on where I'm going to take the centrist, unpopular position here, and honestly, if you look at the positions where I take the centrist position, I get a lot of dislikes on those videos because people that agree with the one side think I'm against them, and people with the other side think I'm against them. And I'm not saying that the centrist position puts me on a moral high ground or anything. I'm just saying that I'm not just trying to play the middle ground here because it doesn't actually benefit me in terms of video popularity. This is something that I really think you can hold two positions at once, which is position number one, Amash is wrong on this issue, and I think he is. Position number two, Amash is overall a good congressman. He is a decent person, and he's not perfect, but he is overall like a pretty good guy. And I think that's true. If you look at any kind of, again, like conservative analysis of his voting record and how he votes and what he has done as a congressman, he is a great congressman. Like, he has done a lot of good work. And I take issue with the people that are now going after him and saying, well, this guy says Trump should be impeached. Let's vote him out of office. And it's like, you guys are voting against one of your most, one of your best congressmen out there. And what does it mean if Amash recommends impeachment? Like, okay, so what? It's his opinion. Who cares? Like, is he taking active steps? He's pushing things in the direction I don't like, but you got to pick your battles here. And I think overall, this one tiny battle is not worth losing everything else. Because I actually listened to Amash give a speech a few years ago, and I believe something he said along the lines of basically the way Congress can push certain laws is that when everyone goes on vacation and for Christmas and that, basically they can just kind of pass a bunch of laws because no one's there to really say no. Like, they can just get a few people to vote for it, and everyone else is technically abstained because they're not there, and that's how you put forth all these terrible laws. And Amash has said in the past he is that one guy to really fight back against that. So when it comes to actually like defending liberty, as he says in his Twitter profile, he does a very good job of that. So I'm gonna fight back against the people that say vote him out of office. That somehow his one position on Trump being impeached somehow overrules everything else he's ever done. It's like, no, that is why I think a lot of conservatives lose on certain things. Because, like, if you're willing to vote out one of your most conservative congressmen just because they disagree with you on one issue, and granted, it's a big issue, sure, but, like, I don't think that's a good battle there. I think you're going to lose there. If you, it's kind of like the purity testing that the left does, that as soon as someone disagrees with the far left on one issue, they get kicked out. As you saw with Lacey Green, who is still pretty left-wing, like, severely left-wing, on most issues. And she is not, like, completely, she is not like punch Nazis, and she actually went through a bit of a political awakening, and I don't even think she changed much of her positions. She just it was basically like, I'm going to talk to the other side, and the far left pretty much kicked her out. So I don't think we should be doing that in this respect. I think what we should do is when Justin Amash says this, you fight back, you make videos about why he's wrong, you say, as I just did in the first few minutes of this, explained why I think he's wrong, and you keep doing that, and you say, like, dude, I think you're a good guy, let's talk about this, let's figure this out, maybe invite him to a debate, because he's probably someone that would gladly discuss this, and probably has in the past. Or really done an actual sit-down discussion with people on why he agrees with this position. So, really, you can say he's wrong on this, but I'm going back to my image here, right here. Wow, I really used to respect that guy before he disagreed with me on a single topic. It's like, yeah, you can disagree with someone, no matter what, even if it's a topic like Trump. You can disagree, and it's not going to, that doesn't make them an evil human being. It's kind of like Jordan Peterson with Kavanaugh. Like, he said something about how Kavanaugh should step down, and it's like, that's a dumb position. I disagree with that. I think he's wrong. I think that's a terribly bad take. But I've actually seen people be like, yeah, I used to like Jordan Peterson until he said that one thing about Kavanaugh. Then I realized he was a shill, and it's like, really? No. I'm sorry. With something I've learned with a lot of what I've read. Like, the more things I read, the more I really look into stuff. The more I actually read what my opponents say and read different opinions on things, the more I find that a lot of these opinions, a lot of these other positions, you can come to that conclusion and still be a good person. You can think Trump should be impeached and still be a good person. Now, you're probably uninformed. I would say that you're probably uninformed. You've probably never read the report. You've probably never understood all this stuff. There's all this kind of stuff you're uninformed on. As long as you approach that with good faith and say, hey, I'm willing to be proven wrong, then I think you're a good person. But I don't like this whole idea of someone said something I disagree with, and it's therefore they're a horrible person. Like the idea that you can't hold this position without being a terrible person. I disagree with that. I think you can be a good person and still say Trump should be impeached. I think you're wrong, and I think it is the case that about 95% of the people that say Trump should be impeached are bad people and malicious people. I think that's true. But I think he's the exception to this rule. And that is something to remember, that it sometimes gets a bit exhausting that when you see people constantly say, he should be impeached, he should be impeached, he should be impeached, over and over and over again, and all these people are clearly malicious in their intent. They're not coming to this honest conclusion. They're saying it maliciously. I get that. That when Amash then says the same thing, you're used to it. You're like, okay, well, everyone else said this thing maliciously. He's probably malicious too. I understand that how you would come to that conclusion, but I think you're wrong. So as you can see, I'm taking the centrist position here of, yeah, I disagree with Amash on this issue, but I think he's overall a good dude, and to say we should vote him out of office, I guarantee you that whatever Republican you put in his place is not going to vote near as good on conservative issues as Amash is. I'm just going to say that simply. So I gotta say, pick your battles. I mean, I hope hopefully this made sense. Like, hopefully this makes sense, that in my centrist explanation, that you can think he's a good dude and think he's tremendously wrong on this issue. And I'm not defending. I know this whole video has basically been kind of a defense/attack of Amash, but it's not about him. Like, he's an example in this. He's just a simple example in the greater idea of, I think, the misconception that the world is a fight between good and evil people. I don't think that's true. If you read Jonathan Haidt, a book by Jonathan Haidt and Greg Lukianoff, The Coddling of the American Mind, it came out last year. That was a very good book. I highly recommend. They go after these general ideas, these general falsehoods that a lot of people believe, and he attacks the far left on this. He basically says, yeah, the left is completely wrong on these three things, but this is something that, like, it's disproportionately on the left that I see them believing this, but loads of people believe it. And I think it was number 3, was the idea that the false belief that life is a battle between good and evil people. And I don't think that's true. Life is not a battle between good and evil people. Like, good and evil is a fight per person. Like, it's an internal fight. That's what makes good characters in books. That you notice that you can take a character and they're fighting their own internal battle between good and evil. And basically, the good guy in a movie is someone who has won over the evil. Like, they are mostly good, and they're a bit flawed, and that's the evil inside them. They're a bit flawed. But overall, they've fought that personal battle with themselves, and they've won. The good side has won. And the evil person is generally someone that, in that internal battle between good and evil has won out. So that it's the big thing with Thanos, like the joke that Thanos actually has a point when it comes to he's fighting overpopulation, and he's seen his own world being destroyed, and he's trying to fix that. But as you can see, the evil won out. For one, Malthusians are dumb. Overpopulation is not an issue. I know that's not part of this video, but I'm going to say that now. Overpopulation is not an issue. The people that do that don't understand how economics works. Growth when it comes to food and resources tend to be exponential, not linear, and that's their big flaw. But yeah, that's a whole different issue. But basically, that's what good characters are. You have to understand that life is a battle between the good and evil of each person, and it's down to, sure, in the grand scheme of things, you're fighting the good people. The people that are mostly good are fighting the people that are mostly evil, that have lost that fight with themselves. But I hate how when we look at like people like Justin Amash, I think they tend to take that bland approach of, oh my God, he says something I disagree with. He says something that bad people say, therefore he's a bad person. I don't think that's true. I think this is something he is tremendously wrong on. And I think if you want to fight back against that, you make a video and you let people know he's wrong. Like, you let people know why he's wrong, as I kind of briefly did earlier, but I didn't go too much in depth because that was a whole different thing. But yeah, I think you should do that. Like, that's the best approach, not to vote him out of office, because you have to look at him as a person. Like, what are the good things he's done? What are the bad things he's done? And you have to weigh the options. This is a bad thing he's done, in my opinion, and that he's gotten this issue wrong, and he's doubling down even though he's wrong. But I also, like, you can't, I also, think, like, if you look at all the good he's done, it's a net benefit. There's net good. You'll find that you disagree with people on certain things, and that's okay. That's fine. To me, that's a great thing. Like, that's something that I know is kind of like the completely overdone position, especially on, this is like all Dave Rubin talks about pretty much now, that, like he brings up in every single video, like, yeah, it's so great that we can have this kind of conversation. It's like, that I know that's kind of an overdone statement, but it's still true. The fact that people can sit down and have conversations is a great thing. And to just kind of jump to this, like, Amash should be thrown out of office because he dared defy our president. It's like, that's dumb. No. I mean, if you think I'm wrong, let me know why. I'm glad for my mind to be changed. But I think when you're looking at whether we should have a congressman in office, it's the same thing as how you look at Trump or anyone. You have to look at the good they've done, you have to look at the bad that they've done, and you have to weigh the options. And considering this is like the first major thing that Justin Amash has doubled down on that I severely disagree with, and everything else for the most part, it's like, yeah, I agree with that. I like what you're doing there. You've done good things. You've fought corruption. I think he's done a good thing. And now people have said, like, someone will no doubt mention this in the comments, that, oh, he has so much to benefit financially from this. Like, he can make so much money. Something about, I forget what it was. Something like somehow he got hurt from, his business got hurt from Trump's tariffs or something, and that's why he's upset. I mean, that might be fueling him emotionally. Like, he might look at his company and say, I've lost money and it's Trump's fault, and that's making me angry. Sure. That's something like, that's just emotions. We can expect that. But I think this whole, again, someone said something I disagree with, therefore they must be malicious. I disagree with it. I think that's dumb. But yeah, I think I've stated my point quite clearly and several times. So let me know what you think in the comments section. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And believe me, again, you don't have to even agree with me necessarily, but if you think I make a valid point, hit the like button. That helps me out a lot. And honestly, if you hit the dislike button, like, I don't care if you hit the dislike button, honestly, because as I've learned apparently in the YouTube algorithm, if you hit the dislike button, that promotes the video, because the way the video works is, or apparently the way YouTube's algorithm works is, it doesn't look at the number of likes, it looks at the number of kind of like interactions. So that's rather interesting. That I honestly benefit, like, I don't know, like, if you'll notice, if you look at my past 3 videos, like, there's loads of criticism, and it's not even genuine criticism either, because, again, I appreciate genuine criticism, but it's all, you're dumb, like, you're a moron, or something like that. Honestly, it's like, I kind of benefit from that, and sometimes I'll reply just to kind of get another response, because every single comment actually boosts the video in the algorithm. So, I don't know why I got on this topic, but no, I just thought that was interesting, that pretty much everyone going after, like, saying, like, oh, like, I think it was, I forget who it was, but somehow a bunch of people found my video and were just like, you're dumb. It's like, okay. Like, thank you for the comment, because that boosts me in the algorithm. So really, like, leave a comment even if you disagree. Like, let me know. I really want to know, both because it helps the video and because I want to hear feedback. Like, if you hit the dislike button, I want to know why, honestly, because if you're just going to post like nonsense, pointless criticism, then I can just ignore it and it helps the video. If you want to post genuine criticism, then I will listen to you. Like, I want to know why I'm wrong. I see. It's not that I want to be, or I do want to be right, but it's not that I want the position I'm currently saying to be right. It's that I want what I believe to be correct. So if I'm wrong, then I want to say thank you to the person that can prove me wrong, because then I'll then take their position and I'll be closer to the truth. But yeah, bit of a tangent. But let me know what you think in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more, and thanks for watching.